A bit of history regarding emotions is useful here. Past scientists tried to answer the riddle of positive emotions by resting on the assumption that all emotions, both negative and positive, were consequential to our human ancestors because they produce urges to act in particular ways. Scientists say that emotions trigger specification tendencies. Fear is linked with the urge to flee, anger with the urge to attack, disgust with the urge to expel, and so on. A core idea nestled within this concept is that having these particular actions spring to mind when our ancestors felt a particular emotion is what made emotions consequential to our species. These were the actions that worked best in getting them out of life or death situations that occurred time and again. In other words, those who ran when they spotted the hunter cats survived. Those who didn't were eaten. Surviving was key, because if an early human did not live long enough to have children, he or she didn't become part of our ancestral family tree. Another core idea is that specific action tendencies embody emotions. Just as these urges overtake our conscious thoughts, they simultaneously trigger rapid changes in our bodies to support those actions. Stop for a moment to imagine a clear and immediate danger. Maybe an oncoming car is out of control and speeding towards you. Maybe you're in a long bank line and a group of armed masked men enter and chain the door. In any case, when you see danger looming, you not only experience an overwhelming urge to flee to safety, but within milliseconds, your cardiovascular system switches gears to redirect oxygenated blood to your large muscles, so you'll be prepared to run away. Your adrenaline glands also release a surge of cortisol to mobilize more energy by increasing the glucose in your bloodstream. The urge to flee that comes with fear doesn't simply roll around in your head. It infuses your whole body, your entire being. The concept of specific action tendencies made two important scientific contributions. First, to the extent that these urges helped our ancestors act quickly and decisively in life-threatening circumstances, it explained how the forces of natural selection shaped and preserved emotions as part of our universal human nature. Second, it explained why emotions could infuse both mind and body by orchestrating a cascade of physiological changes. Within the science of emotions, the value added by the concept of specific action tendencies was huge. It's no wonder that scientists were wedded to it. The trouble came when scientists tried to pinpoint the specific action tendencies for positive emotions. The scientists linked joy with the urge to do anything. Others linked serenity with the urge to do nothing. These urges aren't nearly as specific as fight, flee, or split. What's more, The physiological changes that come with positive emotions seem like nothing compared with those linked with negative emotions. Positive emotions simply didn't fit the theoretical mode that works so well to explain the value of negative emotions. Given these observations, the question, what good are positive emotions, provoked considerable scientific curiosity. The new view, positivity broadens and builds. Working with this brain teaser, together with other intriguing features of positivity, in the late 1990s, I created the broaden and build theory of positive emotions to answer the riddle of positive emotions. Positivity opens us. The first core truth about positive emotions is that they open our hearts and our minds, making us more receptive and more creative. As I developed this new theory, I challenged deeply held assumptions within my field. I went beyond what my mentors had taught me. While I agreed that the concept of specific action tendencies was useful, my sense was that it held value only for negative emotions. To fully understand the value of positive emotions, I had to chart a new course. I proposed that unlike negative emotions, which narrow people's idea about positive actions, positive emotions do the opposite. They broaden people's ideas about positive actions, opening our awareness to a wider range of thoughts and actions that is typical. Joy, for instance, sparks the urge to play and be creative. Interest sparks the urge to explore and learn, whereas serenity sparks the urge to savor our current circumstances and integrate them into a new view of ourselves and the world around us. Positivity opens us. The first core truth about positive emotions is that they open our hearts and our minds, making us more receptive and more creative. Another assumption I challenged was the hidden belief that if emotions held value for our human ancestors, it was because those emotions changed their behaviors in ways that, in the emotional moment, changed their odds of survival or reproduction. While it's easy to imagine how fleeing in fear could save someone's life, it's harder to imagine how playing in joy might do so. To make sense of this, I had to look beyond the moment and identify benefits not located in the present. What I eventually concluded was that positive and negative emotions mattered on different time scales, whereas the narrow mindsets sparked by negative emotions were valuable in instances that threatened our ancestral survival in some way. The broadened mindsets sparked by positive emotions were valuable to our ancestors in different ways and over longer time scales. Broadened mindsets mattered because, over time, such expansive awareness served to build our human ancestors' resources, spurring on their development of assets, abilities, and useful traits. These new resources function as reserves, better equipping our ancestors to handle latter threats to survival, which, of course, were inevitable. To get a feel for the ways positive emotions can build life resources, envision for a moment something that was made you feel joyful, playful, or intensely alive. When you wanted to smile and cheer or jump up and dance around, maybe it was witnessing your child's delight in taking her first steps, or playing a game of chase or catch with your dog. sharing a meal, and lots of laughter with a friend you haven't seen in ages, or playing touch football in the park during a family get-together. Maybe it was dancing with a group of friends as your favorite band played. Whatever comes to mind for you, take a moment to relive the experience in your mind, letting your joy rekindle. Consider how you felt and what you felt like doing, what you've learned about joyful experiences like these is that the playful urges they carry build resources. And in times of trouble, these gains and resources can spell the difference between life and death. Seem far-fetched? Let me tell you about Padas monkeys. Like humans and many other mammals, when these monkeys are young, they play chase. Yet their game of chase has a twist. They run headlong into a flexible sapling or bush to catapult themselves to an unexpected direction. If you close your eyes and picture this stunt, you'll see that it would defy getting caught. It turns out that adults of this species never pull the stunt themselves. Never, that is, unless they need to escape a predator. In play, Padas monkeys develop a particular physical skill that might one day save their lives. Likewise, we've all heard the phrase, "The family that plays together stays together." The wisdom in this phrase is that social play builds ties between people that are lasting and consequential. This wisdom holds outside the human family circle as well. A fascinating example comes from a certain breed of ground squirrels. Like some other mammals, when one squirrel sees a predator in the distance, it will sound an alarm that alerts other squirrels to run for cover. It's a risky move, and crying out, the danger-spotted squirrel draws attention to itself, which may well attract the predator. Scientists used to think that animals would risk their lives like this only for kin with whom they shared common genes. New evidence suggests, however, that squirrels also sound alarms for former playmates, not genetically related. These squirrels developed a social resource while playing, and these buddies will put their lives on the line to save their playmates. To illustrate resource building with a different form of positivity, envision the intense pull you feel when you're keenly interested in a new person, place, or thing. Your mindset is open and curious. It draws you out to explore. Scientists have shown that because positive and open mindsets produce exploration and experiential learning, they also come to produce more accurate mental maps of the world. This means that relative to times when you feel negative and rejecting, or even neutral, you learn more when you feel upbeat and interested and are acting on your curiosity. That's because negativity, even neutrality, holds you back. Negativity and neutrality constrain your experience of the world. In consequence, they also constrain your knowledge of the world. Positivity does just the opposite. It draws you out to explore, to mix it up with the world in unexpected ways. Each time you do, you learn something. These gains in knowledge might not be revelatory today, but they'll be useful down the road. And under certain circumstances, they may be lifesavers. Positivity transforms us for the better. This is the second core truth about positive emotions. By opening our hearts and minds, positive emotions allow us to discover and build new skills, new ties, new knowledge, and new ways of being. Positivity transforms us for the better. This is the second core truth about positive emotions. By opening our hearts and minds, positive emotions allow us to discover and build new skills, new ties, new knowledge, and new ways of being. These two core truths about positive emotions define my broaden and build theory, which holds that positive emotions were consequential to our human ancestors because over time, those good feelings broadened our ancestors' mindsets and built their resources for the future. Positivity transformed early humans for the better, leaving them with extra measures of physical, social, intellectual, and psychological resources. The sparkle of good feelings enticed early humans to broaden and build when they felt safe and satisfied. Those who gave in to this pull became better prepared to survive future threats to life and limb. Those who didn't fared less well. Over millennia, natural selection sculpted our ancestors' capacity to experience heartfelt positivity, creating the form and function of the positive emotions that we modern-day humans experience. Like ancestors, like us, we can't assume that what was good for our ancestors is good for us. Think about our craving for high-fat foods. For our ancestors, high-fat foods were rare finds. Early hunters weren't successful every day, or even every week. It made sense that those who craved a fat-rich food like meat and binged on it when it was available survived. Their bodies could store fat as essential energy reserves that carried them through lean times. Today, high-fat foods are as close as the nearest vending machine. Binging on junk food still builds energy reserves in terms of fat stored in the body. But because we can eat these foods all our waking hours if we choose to, our craving is not as relevant to our lives as it was to our ancestors. The taste for high-fat foods that we inherited from our ancestors may well be a product of our evolution, but it's not particularly useful in a modern world that surrounds us with choices our taste buds crave. You're no early human. You have restaurants and 24-hour food marts, and you can see more people while walking down a busy street at lunchtime for 15 minutes than your ancestors might have seen in their entire lives. But maybe not everything is so different. Just like your ancestors, from birth, you relied on other people for food and shelter, and needed to learn and grow to make it to adulthood. And like your ancestors, you also need to make friends, to build community around you, need to contribute something valuable in adulthood, to be well regarded by others, and need to understand your place in the world so you can make good decisions. There's every good reason to believe that moments of heartfelt positivity, like feeling grateful for your caregivers, being genuinely interested in your learning activities, feeling joyful when playing with others, feeling pride in your accomplishments, or appreciation when everything seems to be going right, are as valuable to you as they were to your ancestors. Live longer. Live stronger. Positivity broadens and builds. It transforms people and helps them become their best. And when at their best, people live longer. That's one fascinating implication of the broaden and build theory. Consider the story of Adam, a 36-year-old gray man from San Francisco. He contracted HIV in the late 1980s, as did Glenn, his partner of 6 years. Although Glenn's disease progressed to AIDS early on, Adam had many symptoms for years. One benefit of Adam's better health was that he was able to serve as caregiver when Glenn's health began to falter. One weekend in April 1990, Adam was reading his favorite newspaper and noticed a small advertisement looking for HIV-positive men who were caregivers to their partners diagnosed with AIDS. He was surprised and pleased to see that scientists wanted to study someone in his shoes. so he called the number at UC San Francisco to learn more. The study involved physical exams and lots of interviews. An interviewer came to Adam and Glenn's home every 2 months for a few years. The interviews were pretty depressing at first. They focused on the many stresses of caregiving, what they were and how they made him feel. Sure, those stresses were part of the process, but Adam wondered why this was all the researchers cared about. After the second interview, Adam asked why the research team never asked about the good things in his life, the things he did to make the day go better for him and Glenn. By the next interview, Adam was surprised and pleased again. The research team had listened. Apparently, he wasn't the only one to have complained that the interviews were so negative. Other study participants also wanted to focus on the positive, and so the research team reshaped their interviews. Within a year, Glenn was dying. Adam continued to be interviewed about his experiences, even after Glenn's death. A year later, Adam's HIV progressed to AIDS. When it did, his doctors told him he might have only 6 months to live, no more than a year at most. Adam refused to live in the shadow of this death sentence. Instead, he took the same approach that he'd taken during Glenn's failing health. Each day was a blessing. Each day would offer something to celebrate. The smell of flowers from the corner store, the kindness of a longtime friend, the chance to continue to be independent despite his ailments, focusing on the positive during each day. Adam's days added up. 3 years went by and Adam was still living independently. 5 years later, he and his close friends couldn't help but credit his positive approach to life with keeping him going strong. Eventually, AIDS did take him, but it was 9 years after the doctors had forecast that he had less than a year to live. Adam's story is not unique. Positivity does indeed forecast living longer, as has been supported by several scientific studies in the years since I first introduced the broaden and build theory. One of these studies emerged from the UC San Francisco research project that Adam was in and helped shape. Others tapped more general samples of the population, but the findings are the same in each. People who express more positivity than others live longer, up to 10 years longer. Positivity matters. Just as our ancestors needed positivity to survive, we need it today for the same reason. Safety in numbers. In later chapters, I'll discuss the scientific approach to positivity in greater detail. For now, I'd like to share the news of a single publication, a scholarly paper of great value because it presents a meta-analysis, or a study of studies. The authors gathered nearly 300 different scientific studies of positivity, which collectively tested more than 275,000 people. These were all the studies that the authors could locate in an exhaustive search of scientific literature. Though any single study might be dismissed as flawed in some way, when you pull together all the evidence from controlled laboratory experiments to longitudinal studies of people's lives through time, you can be far more certain of your conclusions. What did this meta-analysis conclude? That positivity produces success in life as much as it reflects success in life. Regardless of whether success was measured as satisfying marriage, a larger salary, or better health, positivity mattered. When you take all the numbers in all of the studies as a whole, the one scientific account that stands supported is the broaden and build theory. It's all the more gratifying to report the news of this meta-analysis, because neither I nor my students and collaborators were its authors. None of the authors had a vested interest in a broaden and build theory. Science advances at its best when independent researchers test the claims made by their peers. It's satisfying to know that the broaden and build theory has been duly tested and upheld by both data and my fellow scientists. Positivity. Is it un-American? Let's stop for a minute to appreciate the shift in worldview that this new perspective on positivity may require. The United States and much of the capitalist world was forged under the influence of the Protestant work ethic, a philosophy that holds that enjoyment and leisure are sinful, and that only through austere work activities can people prove their true worth. This worldview produces characters who shun all pleasant impulses and activities that might generate joviality, like sport or dance, in favor of long work hours and personal thrift. It produces a culture that celebrates intensity, competition, and doggedness. Although American society may have strayed from its early Protestant roots, many of the cultural values embedded within the Protestant work ethic are alive and kicking today. Take, for instance, our entrenched need to achieve. What else would keep Americans working more days per year than the citizens of any other nation? Or look at the common but unspoken belief that hard work pays off. If so, then those who aren't enjoying successful careers and fat brokerage accounts must be decadent, lazy, or otherwise inferior. Those of us who grew up in the United States could scarcely avoid being steeped in these messages. Despite my life's work on positivity, I'm no exception. In grade school, it didn't take me long to learn how to please teachers with my focus on coursework. In college, I spent long hours in the library to earn A's. In graduate school, I spent even longer hours in the laboratory entering and analyzing data. After I'd become a postdoc, one of my close friends, also a scientist studying emotions, sized me up by saying, "You study emotions because you don't have them." Despite this unsolicited diagnosis, as an untenured professor, I continued to overspend my time writing empirical articles in my chosen publish-or-perish profession. While this addiction to achievement can at times pay off, it comes at a price. We keep our noses so much to the grindstone that we literally don't see the goodness in the world, the wonder that there's to open our hearts and help us grow. It's fair to say Americans are conflicted about positivity. Our Declaration of Independence guaranteed the pursuit of happiness as one of our core rights. Yet when we work hard simply to achieve the material goods and services that Madison Avenue promises will make us happy, we may be missing the point of this fundamental American right. All people yearn to be happy, but many of us have been coaxed into looking for our happiness in all the wrong places. We look for happiness in the higher salaries, more possessions, or higher achievements. Or we fixate on the future, holding out that one day our dreams will come true and make us happy. We're so wrong-headed about the sources of our positivity that we value that extra hour at work. So, we hope, please our bosses more than we value connecting with our kids. We unwind with martinis instead of meditation. We lift weights instead of walking through the park. We follow fad diets instead of eating smaller portions of beautiful and well-prepared food. We watch TV or surf the web instead of reading or listening to a book. We write email instead of poetry. My research shows that these pursuits are misguided, and that the way to pursue happiness is to pursue positivity each day. Wherever we are, moment by moment, our daily positivity adds up, and through it we build the lives we seek. The shift that I needed to make, and that you may need to make, is to view positivity as a wise and healthy investment in ourselves and in the world around us. Positivity is a means toward better ends, not simply an end in itself. The old story is that anything that feels good is merely a distraction, trivial, inconsequential, and therefore expendable. A new story, backed by science, is that these same good feelings, cultivated through natural and ordinary means, are the active ingredients needed to produce an upward spiral towards flourishing. whereas the old story leaves people feeling guilty when they take time for something that makes them feel good. The new story can give people the courage to cultivate, protect, and cherish moments that touch and open their hearts. The shift for me was huge. As a young assistant professor, I overworked so thoroughly that my boyfriend, now my husband, had to work hard to convince me that we should take vacations. Although I eventually conceded, I insisted that we keep our vacations secret from my colleagues and students. I would also bring along stacks of papers to grade and a laptop so I can keep up with my email. There was joy and laughter in those early vacations, but there was also frustration, guilt, shame, and red ink. Having learned from my own research, when I vacation these days, I leave papers and email behind and focus on having fun with my family. I also encourage my students and junior colleagues to do the same, which is the opposite of what my own mentors had encouraged. More important, I look for mini vacations each day, a walk through the arboretum, lunch with a friend, a dance class, or a book to read for fun. I try to balance my entrenched work ethic with a growing play ethic. I find that vacations from my strong need to achieve refuel me and add depth to my life. In an achievement-hungry workplace, my new approach can at times run against the grain and take some resolve to pull off. Even so, I find the fruit so sweet and abundant that there's no going back to my old ways. Although worship of achievement and its dark underbelly, trivialization of positivity, form a dominant theme in modern urban life, other cultural norms do exist. We know that some groups cultivate and sustain positivity better than the rest of us do, and we can learn something from studying how they do it. Those who follow Buddhist meditation practices, for instance, experience a greater positivity in daily life. In latter chapters, I'll tell you how meditation works and how you can make it work for you. Another group particularly good at positivity may surprise you. Older adults. Scientists have shown that people over 70 attend to and savor positivity more than do those with fewer years and wrinkles. This may be the wisdom of old age. A focus on positivity can make late life fulfilling, despite the inevitable aches and pains and memory loss. One side effect of reading this book may be to hasten this positive aspect of aging. How much is enough? So far, I've sketched only a description of how positivity opens our minds and transforms our lives into something better. In the next several chapters, I'll present the scientific evidence that has convinced me that there's reason to take the news about positivity to heart and experiment with it in your own life. If you decide to do so, you'll need more than a good description. You'll need a good prescription. Because you're still reading, I'll assume that you're already on board and that you want to broaden your mind and build a better future for yourself. I'm sure you've already guessed that I'm going to suggest you increase your positivity. But how do you go about doing this? How much positivity is enough? And how can you tell if and when you're in the ballpark? Here's how your day might start if faithfully followed one possible prescription. You wake up on a bright sunny morning. You take a few moments to just breathe deeply and relax. When you're fully awake, you gently nudge your spouse and move closer to cuddle. You want to show your affection and desire. Your spouse, obviously roused from deep sleep, rolls over, elbows you sharply, and barks, "Are you nuts? Let me sleep." Smiling about your spouse's antics, you spring out of bed and hop in the shower. For some unknown reason, the water is freezing cold. Although you were looking forward to a long, warm shower, you say to yourself, "I'm so lucky to have running water. I'm so much better off than people in other parts of the world." Smiling and singing through your shower of icicles, you later skip down to the hall to check in and on your kids. You see a black willow spider crawling across your sleeping toddler's face. You smile and tiptoe out of the room, not wanting to disturb the peace. You think, nature is so fascinating, I'll need to tell my friends about this interesting spider. You make your way to the kitchen for breakfast. Just as you sit down with your bowl of cereal, you find that sometime during the night, your aging cat Spike vomited on your favorite antique tablecloth. You sit down next to the mound of vomit to eat your breakfast. You say to yourself, poor dear old Spike, I hope you're feeling better. I guess this tablecloth wasn't going to last forever. Then you turn on the TV. The newscaster is reporting live from the latest war zone. The footage shows civilian victims of a recent bombing, bleeding and dismembered. You think, what a clever camera crew. They were able to take such vivid pictures. And what a pleasing voice this nice-looking newscaster has. I don't need to go on, do I? You know you hate this prescription already. You hate it for the same reason we all have universal disdain for the name Pollyanna. You know Pollyanna. She's the one with a plastered smile on her face who conveys non-stop joy. You want to shake her and say, get real. That's precisely the problem with this prescription. It can't connect with reality. To experience 100% positivity defies and denies the humanness of life. It would mean that you'd bury your head in the sand, and it would eventually drive others away from you. The prescription that I suggest you try out is more reasonable. Aim for a positivity ratio of at least 3-to-1. This means that for every heart-wrenching negative emotional experience you endure, you experience at least 3 heartfelt positive emotional experiences that uplift you. This is the ratio that I found to be the tipping point, predicting whether people languish or flourish. As with any dietary guideline, I offer you this prescription as an emotional guideline. Also, as with any dietary guideline, you don't need to achieve this ratio at any given moment, or even on any given day. Strive instead to meet or exceed this ratio over a stretch of several days or even weeks. In Chapter 7, I'll describe the fascinating research that led to this prescription. I'll also discuss the science that backs it. Of course, as with any prescription or dietary guideline, this 3-to-1 positivity ratio is subject to modification. Future studies will no doubt have more to teach us. Science is never complete. Yet we can all breathe collective sigh of relief to learn that the prescription is not 3-to-0. Negativity is important. Nobody can flourish without it. Even the happiest people cry when they lose someone or something they cherish. They're angered by injustice and frightened by danger. Their stomachs turn when they see vomit or witness human atrocities. The beauty of the 3-to-1 positivity ratio is that it's large enough to encompass the full range of human emotions. There's no emotion that needs to be forever shunned or suppressed. No yellow, smiley faces. The 3-to-1 positivity prescription should be easy enough to follow. Just throw in a few upbeat words or a smile now and then, and you'll have the life you want. Not so fast. If you're thinking it will be that easy to change your positivity ratio, you're wrong. Simply uttering more positive words or forcing a smile might actually do you more harm than good. By design, humans are exquisite insincerity detectors. If your positive words or upturned lip corners are devoid of sincere, heartfelt, positive feeling, you and those around you will sense it. Notice that throughout this book, I refer to heartfelt positivity time and again. That's because science shows that sincerity counts. Consider Jen's story. She's a 38-year-old mother of 3 in California and her youngest child has autism. She recently volunteered for a study on how mothers cope with the stresses of caring for a chronically ill child and how it affects their health. She indicated to the research team that although she found raising her youngest child to be taxing, she also found the good in her new role. In working through her difficulties, she discovered strength she didn't know she had and deepened her religious faith. In other words, Jen was higher than most in what scientists call benefit finding. She found the good that emerged from her struggles. You might suspect that this would set Jen apart and make her among the healthiest of moms tested. It didn't. Even though Jen was quick to articulate positivity, she didn't truly feel it. When she was asked during the course of a few normal days how happy, excited, or content she was feeling right then, she most often admitted not at all. It turned out that Jen was lower than most on her level of heartfelt positive emotions. What the research team discovered was that only moms who both found benefit in their stressful experiences and reported experiencing positive emotions in their day-to-day experiences showed healthy fluctuations in the stress hormone cortisol. But Jen's positivity was not heartfelt, so her own cortisol levels were high all day long, which is not particularly healthy. Here's another illustration. Victor is a 59-year-old sales manager from North Carolina who suffered a heart attack a year ago. His doctor asked him to join a study on behavior and a coronary heart disease at the Duke University Medical Center. In one part of the study, scientists used an imaging technique to watch his heart in action while an interviewer asked him some questions. The interview was videotaped. Victor found one question particularly stupid. The interviewer asked, "When you get angry or upset, do people around you know it?" "Of course they know it," Victor burst out. "They're the ones to blame, aren't they?" He tried to be polite to the interviewer, to smile now and then to hide his growing frustration, but he found the questions to be almost idiotic. It turns out that during the particular 2-minute segment of Victor's interview, when he was questioned about his anger, the imaging technique revealed that he experienced a silent ischemic episode. Although Victor felt no pain or discomfort, the left ventricle of his heart collapsed a bit, indicating that the blood supply to the muscle of his heart was dangerously restricted. This was a serious sign of Victor's heart disease that could easily bring on another heart attack and even end his life. Over the next several months, the research team coded in detail the videotape of Victor and other study participants, all male coronary patients. They identified every facial expression of emotion that occurred during the interview that coincided with the heart imaging procedure. There was a lot to code. These men expressed about one emotion every 2 or 3 seconds. Of all these facial expressions, only 2 types distinguished those who showed myocardial ischemia. The scientists conducted the study because they predicted that facial expressions of anger would forecast ischemia. They did. What they didn't expect was that smiles would too. But not just any smiles, only those that scientists call non-enjoyment smiles. All smiles involve the zygomatias major, the muscles on each side of our faces that raise up our lip corners. Non-enjoyment smiles stop there. They do not also involve the arpicularis oculi, the muscles that circle each of our eyes, which, when contracted, lifts our cheeks and creates crow's feet. It turns out that this signature action around the eyes reveals whether people really feel the positivity that they convey. This means that non-enjoyment smiles are essentially insincere positivity. What scientists discovered in this study was that insincere positivity puts these men in as much coronary danger as did anger. Mountains of research tell us that anger kills. This new discovery suggests that insincere positivity may kill too. Jen's story, Victor's story, and the scientific discoveries that they represent provide an important warning as we attempt to increase positivity in our lives. Although it might be easy to express positivity in words or with smiles, if we don't actually feel the positivity we express, we may actually be doing harm. In short, your body knows when you're cheating and punishes you for it. As you begin to experiment with elevating your positivity ratio, tracking your own sincerity will be key. What you'll strive for is more frequent, heartfelt moments of positivity, not negativity, or even neutrality, masquerading as a smile. In part 2 of this book, I describe a range of ways that you can find your own personalized path to meeting or exceeding the prescribed positivity ratio, all while being genuine. For now, I simply want you to realize that it's not as simple as the ever-popular yellow smiley face icon implies. Maybe this is why the yellow smiley face icon is the symbol that scientists working in positive psychology love to hate. Although offered in good fun, it trivializes the effort and sincerity that it takes to invoke a genuine, heartfelt positivity. The view from here. Now you know the good news and the bad news about positivity. The bad news is that most of us don't have enough of it in our lives, our daily lives, so we hardly benefit from the gifts that it offers. Without more positivity, we can't pull off the recipe for flourishing life success. Sadly, most of us don't even recognize that we have ready access to more of what we need. We don't recognize that we've got an inner wellspring we can tap to generate genuine, heartfelt positivity anytime we wish. But let's focus on the good news. All of us are already familiar with positivity. We felt it in the tenderness of our hearts, the fascination of our interests, the inspiration of our daydreams, the ease of our smiles, and the warmth of our caresses. And now you know that positivity can do more for you than simply make you feel good. It can broaden your mind and open your heart. Your moments of heartfelt gratitude, joy, and love can transform your life for the better by building your resources and strengths. Best of all, positivity is renewable. As we'll begin to see in the next chapter, and more completely in part 2, each of us can choose to seed more of it into our lives. As these seeds grow, we flourish. We become full of possibility, remarkably resilient and happy. We contribute. With more positivity, we can create both the life we want and a world worth leaving to our children.